Okay. Today will mark the return of Feedback Friday, and we are going to review a submission from a friend of mine who was playing support. And we're going to observe their Ana and basically just kind of review Ana slash support. I'm assuming that they were playing Ana. But we're basically going to review this and kind of look for just feedback to assist in their gameplay and becoming a better player. All right, so let's begin. So right here, I would say that this might be... It looked like your team wanted to TP to the high ground with Sim, but I think it immediately got fried, if I recall. Let's see. Yeah, I saw the TP come up. But then the rest of the team kind of decides to use the natural cover here and go underneath. You're trying to keep your Bastion up. Bastion was a little out in the open, not really playing in cover. But at this point, I think, like, now you're by yourself, which could leave you open to the Zen, the Sojourn, who's damage boosted. I would say kind of trying to follow up on your team and make sure that you're, like, able to see them. Because for the first, like, few seconds of this whole fight, it looked like they were behind this wall, and all you could see was the Bastion. And so kind of take note of where your team is rotating and kind of rotate with them. So if you were to rotate here, this does give you a better sightline of where your team is. Plus, it'll give you the natural cover from these little, like, billboards and the bus here, so they can't easily, like, shoot down onto you. But, like, from here, like, you're kind of wide open unless you take cover. But that's just kind of some opening thoughts here. Okay. So here we're going to start talking about utility usage. Utility usage is going to be pretty much like the bread and butter for Ana. And so this will be, like, really important going forward, just kind of taking note of when and where and why you use your abilities. So this one, we see that your D.Va's low, but you throw the nade. And the nade hits right about here, which, like, no one's next to. Like, at most, maybe your best bet is it would splash on the Lucio. I would have said, let's not opt for the nade. I think I can understand what you were going for. You're probably wanting to boost the healing of your team while maybe purpling this Zen, who's getting healed by the Mercy up top. And also burst heal your D.Va, who's critical. So a cool little secret here that a lot of players don't know on Ana is that if you scope in, a lot of times, do you see where your ult meter is at the bottom? If you aim, like, basically whenever I'm scoped in and I want to throw a nade somewhere as Ana, I will always see, like, where that ult indicator is. And if it's, like, a reasonable distance away, like right about to where your team is, if you were to lift up your crosshair to where your ult meter, while scoped in, is kind of in line with your team, the nade will land there. So do you kind of notice how when you nade, so we're going to skip back to where we were. So you scope in, and then when you throw your nade, it kind of lands in the street, like a little bit behind your team, because that's kind of where the ult meter was. So just kind of frame of reference, you can usually get a good ballpark idea of where your nade is going to land by using the ult meter while scoped in as Ana. I would have opted to try and keep your Lucio alive. He was kind of on his last legs, very low. And I see you tried to go for the sleep on the Mercy. Not necessarily a bad sleep target, but I think just kind of like prioritize keeping your other support alive. Like, that is probably like the biggest job, aside from keeping the rest of your team alive and keeping yourself alive, is you want to be able to peel for your healer. And so I would have said, like, it was a good attempt on the sleep. It went wide. That's okay. But in the future, when you see your support low and you have the chance to either heal your support or make a play on someone else, I would opt to try and keep your support alive. So in the end, when you do try to go on the offensive against the other team, they can also help keep you up in return. So the Mercy ended up dying to your Sims turrets, and you managed to 1v1 the Sojourn enough to where she left. Right about here, I noticed you're getting aggressive. So if we look at the kill feed, you've lost your D.Va, you've lost your Lucio, and while your Sim is still alive... Okay, that's a good anti onto that. It's cleansed. Yeah, so right about here. So I see... Okay, so you're opting now for the retreat. I guess it was good to try and pocket the Sim while she was fighting the tank, but I think in the future and in most other situations, because you lost a majority of your team, you wouldn't really want to stagger yourself. I would have just turned around and headed back to spawn, maybe sat in cover to make sure that you're not going to get staggered. Because the worst thing about, like, if someone dies and the retreat isn't called, what can be hard is that the rest of the team tries to keep fighting, and then by the time the person who got picked comes back, someone else has died, and then that just starts a trickle, and we don't want that. Okay, so your Bastion got a pick here.
I appreciate the support.
So the Mercy is coming back from spawn, and the Zen is coming back from spawn. And so now the only people that are really alive is the enemy Bastion and the enemy Zarya. So this is a great example of what I just said, but with the other team. So the defensive team lost a bunch of their people. It should have been the Zarya's call to head back into cover on the point and wait for her team to regroup. Maybe at worst, they give up 2 ticks, and then they come back full 5 squad to be able to defend the point. So this is a defensive mistake on the other team that your team capitalizes on. You guys are now all regrouped, and they only have Bastion, who just dies, and then the Zarya, who's still up here, whose supports are still coming back from spawn. So your team manages to capitalize on the thing that I was just talking about, of when you lose someone and you don't retreat, you're just going to stagger yourself. So now, these 2 people on the team are going to die, which means that by the time the 3 others come back, that's not going to be a healthy defense. It's not going to be very doable for them. Okay, so right here, a lot of times, traditionally, because Lucio has a lot of mobility, he will usually go with the team ahead of them to take space, help the tank enforce space, and pocket the team as they push up. And as Ana, you're usually on the objective. But as you saw right here, so you're on point, and now you see your Lucio coming back. But notice how 2 of your team are still fighting. From what you can hear, it sounds like there's fighting going on, and you can see by the colors that they have both taken damage. So now that your Lucio is here, I would say let's take a position here to have at least a little bit of sightline and cover to pocket your Bastion and your D.Va, who are still fighting. So now point duties can be dealt with Sim, who can set up some defensive turrets in case of a recontest, and your Lucio will now be on point getting capture progress. But now, since both of you are here, there's no one to support these people up here. And yeah, that might be a miscommunication of positioning. Maybe the Lucio thought, let's go back and cap the point, but D.Va and Bastion didn't get the memo. In this case, I would say, because you're kind of in a pretty safe space, you know, the rest of the team is regrouping. Now that Lucio is here, swap places with him, maybe take a position where you're in cover, but still have a sight line on your 2 teammates, so then you can keep them up and they don't get picked, giving them, the opposing team, a 4v5 to recontest or retake the point. Okay, so I see you kind of have the right idea here. I think this might not be as effective of a sight line compared to the one back here, because it might give you a better idea of where the enemy team is coming from looking at this direction. And also, if someone's retreating back to your team, notice how Bastion is now behind this corner, and you don't necessarily have the best sightline on him. But everything's good. No one died. This is looking like a healthy offense here. Okay, so right here, this was probably, I would say this is a rotational mistake. So you notice how your team is rotating this way. Lucio's not with him. Lucio's behind you. You have the only sight line pretty much on your team that is now about to enter the poke phase with the other team. We know that the team is now kind of fully regrouped because they had time to regroup just as you did to take the point. So now on the streets phase, your D.Va's using DM. Your Bastion's about to get aggressive here. So right here, right before the team fights, you turn around and you rotate. But in this rotation, that is a good 3.5 seconds where you don't have a sight line on your Bastion or your D.Va. And yes, you can say, oh, why didn't the D.Va DM the Bastion? Like, sure, we can say that that's a mistake on the D.Va, but also there was no healer that had the capability of keeping your team up in this moment. Had we have been in this position, like, while this doesn't give us the best sight lines of the other team, you're technically in cover from the Sojourn, who's taking an aggressive position up top, but you have perfect sight line to at least keep your Bastion up. And because of this rotation, that 3.5 seconds, Bastion died. I can see the line of thinking of using the nade there, seeing that your Bastion was critical. You thought maybe as soon as I round the corner, I'll splash him with the nade, but it was too late. You do heal the D.Va, though, but now you're going to have to take a disadvantage fight because you're down Bastion, all because of what looked like kind of a rotational mistake, maybe some indecisiveness. I'll just say that was an accidental sleep dart there. Or were you trying to reload cancel? Because I know we've talked about, I've talked about in the past of doing like the animation cancel to save time on your reload. And you can reload animation cancel with Ana with melee, nade, and sleep. So I think that's probably what you were going for. But the animation didn't finish. She didn't put the clip back in, so you're still at 3 shots out of 15. Okay. So D.Va just got demacked. So this is kind of what now we'd probably want to talk about target priority. So yes, your sim is low, but also notice who's with her. Your Lucio, who has his healing aura. You can tell because he and your sim are healing, right? So while it can be scary as a support to see the critical like icon there, I would say you know where 2 of your teammates are. You also know that Bastion is dead. He's coming back from spawn. So as a support, you'd then want to ask the question, where's my tank? And right now, while this is happening, your tank is over here. And while you were focusing your attention on the sim to get healed, your D.Va was getting burned down by the disruptor shot from Sojourn and very aggressive Zarya. So you do eventually turn, but it was a little too late. And so for this, it would kind of, I would say this is more like target priority, seeing that your Lucio already has the healing on the sim covered. While it can be easy to have your attention grabbed by the critical icon, always be aware of where the rest of your team is. And while the Lucio will pocket the sim, I would have opted to pocket the D.Va here. So now she's demacked. And right here, see, so now this is kind of like we're getting into, I would say this is like a pseudo trickle. It's not quite a trickle. The Diva's not dead, but she is demeched, which is still a significant disadvantage when it comes to taking space. When it comes to utility usage, we didn't need to heal the Sim there. She was full health, but I think what I'm going to assume that you were going for is you heard the Bastion, so you're going to try and splash the Bastion. Something I'm noticing is that while I think the idea is there of why you want to use the nade to get a purple on someone, it kind of so far has seemed like you're kind of coming up short on the arc of the nade. So I would say maybe go into the practice range, kind of get a feel for the arc of the nade, where it's going to land, and also use that trick that I mentioned of using the scoped in Ana and the alt meter to kind of gauge where your nade is going to go. So far, I think you have the right idea of going for purples, but just practice kind of having a feel for like the arc of the nade so you don't come up short there. Okay, so your Lucio beats. Okay, so your Lucio beats to counter the Grav, and that's actually like a pretty good heads-up play of using the Photon Barrier to counter the Sojourn ult. You guys are all kind of positioning correctly. You're all on one side of the barrier. Okay, so your Diva gets aggressive here. I think she just used Fly. Okay, so she just used Fly, and I'm assuming you nanoed her because you thought she was going to get aggressive and start kind of diving into the team. But for some reason, she stopped her Fly, so... Oh, okay. Okay. Alright, so this whole chain of events, I would say this Nano doesn't really get that much value because I think I see what you're going for. But she, for some reason, didn't go further than the cart. She kind of used her Fly to get from the back of the cart to the front of the cart and then stopped. But it looked like your Sim was setting up a TP to take space here. And so this is also kind of where calming in competitive is very important to try and make sure to setting up the engages. It can be intimidating, and I know it can be tough. But this is kind of an example where communication can be really good. Analyzing your win conditions, what utility you have alt-wise, and how you're going to go into the next fight. And so it looks like your Sim is setting up a TP, and if she sets the TP here, I would have said maybe if we were to kind of do this over, because hindsight is 20/20, you see your Sim is taking an aggressive TP, so as soon as she pops out this side, maybe Nano Sim, and maybe she gets a chance to burn down one of the supports, and then Diva can then kind of take space with the nanoed Sim. I think maybe that might have been a better play here. But yeah, the Sim gets instantly discorded, or no, she doesn't get discorded, but she takes some damage and is like, yeah, no one else is with me. I'm going to go back through my TP before and then take it down. And so right now, this TP doesn't really get a lot of value, and then this Nano doesn't really get that much value. I think the Diva sees an opportunity to bomb here, but Zarya just has Bubble, is super high energy. I think everyone takes... Oh, okay, so the Zen dies to the bomb, but then your Diva just gets burned down. Oh my god. This is what happens to... Oh my god, this is horrifying. But Diva gets burned down by the Zarya. So I would say this is kind of an example of maybe kind of communicating to set up the fight, how you want to use your Nano, how you want to engage. And so it might have been just like you're not on the same page. Diva made it look like she was going forward, so you Nano her, but then she's like, oh, I'm not going forward. And then the Sim kind of is like, oh, we Nano, I'm going to TP forward. And then it's like, oh, actually, no one's with me. So communication is really key. All right, and then so we throw the nade to try and save the Diva. I would say... Yeah, okay, so I think what I'm seeing here a lot of the time is during the mid fight, you shoot a couple of shots, and then you rotate. But I'm not exactly sure why you need to be rotating. So you opt to like, so you're kind of shooting some shots. So you see the sim goes back through her TP. Your Lucio and your D.Va are still there. But I'm kind of unsure as to why you choose to change directions. Because again, for that one split second, your Lucio retreats behind you, and now, again, your D.Va's not really getting pocketed and she gets burned down. I would have said that if you stayed here, not only do you have the natural cover from the cart, any incoming damage that they could send your way, but you're in a pretty good spot over here to make sure that like the rest of your team can stay alive. And yeah, she throws the bomb and maybe doesn't really think about the fact that she's right in front of the team. But if you stay here, there's an opportunity to make sure your Lucio's healed up, but also keep your baby D.Va alive. And so this little micro rotation here, I'm not really sure what we were, what that was trying to accomplish.
I see you.
And so the nade kind of comes out too late because she's already burned down. And I think, okay. All right, so now, this is kind of like, so now that we've lost the D.Va, the retreat call isn't really being made. You kind of have two options here. You want to take a position to try and keep the rest of your team up, or you want to retreat, because the team fight is going to end in a loss. The rest of your team seems to be confident enough that they can take a fight here. You have both supports alive. You have your Bastion. All right. So this is now where what we're going to talk about is like uptime relative to your positioning as a support. So your whole team pushes up here, right? So you see your sim aggressively teleport forward, right? And you know your Bastion is in that building, presumably walking forward. And your Lucio is at least at the corner trying to keep everyone up. And so I would say if your team is going to take a fight, maybe push up here and then work this corner here. So we see that the sim teleports up there. So if you were to push up to this corner, you have the natural cover, right? The cart will eventually give you cover of the main sight line. You have a view of your Bastion to keep him up. Lucio's right next to you. And you have a sight line on the high ground to where your sim is taking an aggressive posture. But we're back here. Notice how the only person that we see is our Lucio. And Lucio is pretty self-sufficient. He can keep himself alive. You don't have a view of your Bastion, and you definitely don't have a view of your sim, right? And I think the line of thinking is oh crap, I need to rotate. See, so like you keep your Lucio up, but you heal him for like maybe 10 HP that he can heal himself. And so I guess what is a little detrimental here for your Bastion and the sim is that so sim doesn't have any support when she takes the aggressive angle. And you can see that the Bastion ult is coming down in this alleyway, so maybe we opt to rotate over here to at least give our Bastion some support. So your Bastion does take care of the enemy Bastion. And that Sojourn's looking low, your Lucio's getting aggressive, but we are back here. So I would say I think this is kind of another like rotational error here. So this whole time we were kind of back here, but like nothing's really happening on this corner. So while it can be intimidating as a support to kind of put yourself in like the view of the enemy team because you don't want to get sniped or hit by spam or whatever, we also have to remember like we want to keep our I guess like you're getting more value out of your support the more uptime you're getting. And so you have to kind of like visualize, all right, how can I maximize my uptime in this fight? Well, for starters, you need a sight line on your team so you can continue to heal them no matter what position they're in. And so
helping you out.
Again, this is just, getting a feel for the nade. All right, so now your D.Va's back. But also, I'm assuming your sim just spawned. Yeah, so she's not with you yet. Okay, so this, I would say, when it comes to utility management, we didn't need to use the nade here because your Lucio can heal himself, and he was perfectly fine in that little cover there. He not only has the self-healing passive as a support, but he also has his healing aura that he can use on himself. And so he was really the only one that was in danger of taking damage. So I would say you don't need to use the nade here. That is now a 10-second cooldown that denies healing for the enemy team off the table that we basically spent on poke damage. And I would say something that my friends told me when I was learning Ana was, don't, like, if you're feeling like you're not missing, if you feel like you're missing your shots to heal your team, don't use nade to substitute for missed shots. And so right here, even if you needed to heal your Lucio, I would have said maybe adjust a little bit to the right and just shoot him to heal him. We don't need to use an anti-nade just to heal the Lucio here. So, yeah. So, now we don't have an anti-nade for the fight. Okay. Now this is also more on target priority when it comes to healing. So notice how your Bastion has a Discord orb on him. That means that there's going to be a lot more damage and focus fire coming from the enemy team. Also, your D.Va, it looks like you were focusing healing your D.Va. Well, the best part about Overwatch 2 is that tanks are kind of OP and they're designed to take a beating. That's why they're tanks. And so notice how much armor your D.Va still has left. And not only does she have Fly to be able to get out, and she has Defense Matrix to protect herself, but notice how your Bastion is discorded and he's getting burned down. He's technically, like, while he has armor, I would still classify him as a squishy because he's not a tank. And so, in this moment, because he's discorded, I would have prioritized keeping your Bastion up instead of your D.Va, because your D.Va has the ability to get out and protect herself. So this is just kind of healing target priority. I guess the second point is that if we did have nade, which is still on cooldown for 5 seconds, that might have supplied burst healing to help the Bastion if you splashed it on the D.Va, but because we used it for poke damage earlier, we don't have that now. And that's why utility for Ana is very, very important, and we don't want to waste it. And then the Sojourn is taking an aggressive position, and I'm assuming she's just right above you here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's just unlucky. In many ways, too, it looks like your D.Va is kind of playing on the ground a lot. And so it's usually on your D.Va to try and contest high ground. That's also where communication comes important. So the rest of your team gets cleaned up. Hopefully, now that everyone is back in spawn, we can kind of regroup. Your Bastion is taking a little bit of aggressive. Oh my gosh, the Sojourn is very aggressive. Okay, now this is a good nade, because the Mercy is with her, but now that basically negates any healing that she could get from her pocket, and your Bastion finishes off the kill. So now that your D.Va your Bastion's sticking around, but your D.Va is going to take space to deny the res. That's also the biggest thing, is making sure that after you get a pick and you notice that the Mercy's nearby, always communicate, hey, watch for res, and if you can deny that, that'll be a huge boon in the team fight, especially during this phase, because you pick the Sojourn, that's a free 4v5, like right off the bat, as your team is coming off spawn. Okay, right here, I would say sleep is now a 15-second cooldown. Like, yes, you put the Zen to sleep, but there's not really a lot of follow-up from your team that's possible. And so now that's just a 15-second cooldown just kind of like thrown to the wind. Because we just killed someone that was being pocketed by a Mercy, I would say maybe try and save the sleep and kind of keep track of where that Mercy might be, because if she does try to go for a cheeky res, that sleep will get a ton of value if you manage to sleep her out of res. Or if someone is flanking you or someone is getting aggressive on you, you want to use the sleep dart to protect yourself. If you kind of just throw it out there, then yes, you put the Zen to sleep. He's out of the team fight for maybe 1 or 2 seconds, depending on if your teammate wakes him up or not, which he just got woken up. So that doesn't really get too much value. like, I guess the most we could try to argue is, okay, for these 2 seconds, he couldn't put Discord or Harmony on somebody. Ooh, okay, D.Va ate the graph. Let's go. Let's kind of rewind back to... So we got the pick on the Sojourn. Yep. Okay, so you take cover here because you took some poke damage, but I wouldn't say you need to rotate all the way over here. Because remember, you have your self-healing passive. There's this whole freaking wall here. So yeah, you took some poke here, but maybe that just means kind of go back into cover for a few seconds, let your passive kick in, and then re-peek, right? Because I say this is kind of a dangerous rotation because, again, that like 2-3 seconds where you don't have any sightline of your team, yeah, you have it back again, but this is a lot of damage that your team is taking that there's a chance that they could have been picked here. So I would say, again, maximizing that uptime, keeping the sightline. Again, it looked like the nade arc was a little short. We did luckily get splashed on the D.Va. But again, I would say your Lucio was there with the healing aura. He probably had amp speed if he needed to. We also have beat if necessary. I would say, like, it's okay to opt for the nade here, but I would have said, again, it's a reminder of don't necessarily use nade to substitute, like, the fear of missing shots or missing shots. I'm confident that, like, see, and D.Va's even flying back to you. Like, I'm confident that you could have kept her up just with your raw healing. I mean, you still have 8 shots left in the clip, right? So, oh, that's unfortunate. That's an Ajax beat. Yeah. Nothing really you can do there, because it looked like he was low. Out of your LOS, he was the only one that was up there, and then he opted to beat when he was really low. Nothing you can do, though. That's not your fault, but unfortunate, to say the least.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay. I'm assuming that you're trying to nano your Bastion, but unfortunately, it got blocked by the Sim and the D.Va. I guess in hindsight, we could say maybe a better angle to take was back here, so you had a better chance. And also, I guess, like, when it comes to uptime and awareness as a support, you kind of want to maximize your sightline of the enemy team and your team, but also minimize the chance to get flanked. And while they don't necessarily have a lot of flankers, because they have a Sojourn who, you know, is right there, and they have a Bastion, I think it can be more dangerous to opt for this angle because there's an easy pathway that the enemy team can get to you right here. And if someone catches you here, there's not really a lot of cover because your only choice is to either take the duel or to back up into the sight lines of this alley, which the defensive team has high ground control. And so I would say still opt to be back here. It gives you a sight line of here, but also gives you a sight line of any potential flanks coming from your left. And maybe if we were here, not only would we be able to peek out of cover from the Sojourn, we probably would have had a better angle to heal and save the Bastion with the Nano. Okay, so we're changing up the Ana to Zen. And I guess I'm kind of curious as to what the thought process is here. Because Zen Lucio is an interesting support lineup. I suppose you have the advantage of long sight lines, so you can go for your right clicks down the alley, and you get the Discord. But again, Zen is going to be dependent on positioning. They don't really have any divers, so I guess you have that going for you here. But I think the Ana utility was the potential that it has is very valuable. You have the chance to deny healing, to deny trance with your purple. You have sleep darts that can shut down things. But like, let's see how this goes. Okay, so you're opting for the low ground while the rest of your team goes high. So that means you're not really going to have a chance to... Okay, so your D.Va does fly. But yeah, you just got to be careful of not necessarily rotating on the same high ground as your team, because that means you don't even have LOS to throw orb on them. But oh boy. Yeah, so I guess this kind of goes into, if we were high ground, we would have been a little more safe from the Zarya. Like, Lucio can get away because he has wall ride and speed boost. And I guess in some ways, your team kind of left you behind, because I think everyone just kind of went in. Your Reaper flanked and got a pick on the Mercy, and then your D.Va saw the Sojourn by herself without a pocket and then went for the kill here. But in doing so, you and the Bastion kind of got left back here. So yeah, I would say with Zen, it might have been safer on the high ground, because that means no one can really touch you up here. Yeah, maybe her beam can reach you up here, but you can easily take cover. Down here, you don't really have a place to go. And Bastion also is kind of in a rough place. He's probably not going to be doing so hot in a second. Yeah, and he's down. So now your team is in a weird place. Your Reaper manages to get the kill on the other support, and so I guess your team made a call. I guess 3 of your team made the call to basically speed high ground, go on a wide flank, taking out everyone except the tank, so now Zarya is the only one left. Zarya and Bastion are the only one left. But does it work out? I guess it does. Dang, okay, the Reaper switch popping off from the Symmetra, so Disney Ant saves that push. Zen is also tough because he is very slow. Alright, so now they have a Widow. So again, that whole kind of rotational issue that we just saw, I think that, again, just comes down to communication. So if you were on high ground, maybe you have the chance to say, oh, Zarya behind, on your Zen, on your Zen. But again, also, like, playing D.Va into the Zarya, there's not necessarily a lot of peel you can do, because Defense Matrix does nothing against a beam, and as Zen, the only utility you have is your Discord against a target, and if you're not landing your shots, especially on someone like Zarya, who's a tank and has so much health, that matchup is not really favored. Oh, dang, the baby D.Va got the Widow. Are they going to res that? Okay, so they get the res on the Widow. We do see that she's over there. Okay, so you guys managed to get it to second. Sweet. This is kind of, again, kind of like Hazy said, this is kind of where communication is key. Zen is not going to get that much value if you're not calling your Discord targets. And so, ideally, you'd want to maybe try and keep the Discord onto Zarya so you can burn her down, force her to use her bubbles to get that off of her, or to basically, like, tag any target that's out of position and tell your team to focus fire on them. And yeah, it's also about hitting your shots, too. Okay, so Susanna Faith with the double on the bomb. All right, we know that Widow is taking that aggressive angle there. Okay, so your Lucio gets picked again. You know, I would say that this is probably time to sound the retreat because you're down one. And she just popped sights, so now she has the advantage of pretty much wall hacks and knows where you are. This is also an example of you're taking these aggressive angles, and you're not necessarily, you don't really have cover at arm's length. So this was a good rotation to this upper corner. She doesn't necessarily have an angle on you, but you got to be really careful, and you got to be calming with your team. Like, call out Widow, ping Widow. Ping is essential when playing against a Widow, so your team knows where they are, so you know where they are. And you can also hear her on the left. You can hear her heels clickety-clacking. So Lucio gets back and then pops beat. Yeah, see, this is also because your D.Va's playing on the ground a lot. I would say, you know, if you're able to calm in this situation, you'd say, hey, we need to clear high ground. Widow in the back, Widow in the back. We need to clear high ground because your Reaper just died trying to poke her out. You know, and Torb is trying to poke her out, and he's getting damage. Okay, just now, your D.Va is trying to contest her. But now, she just got super aggressive. Like she has the confidence now that she took out your Reaper. She's getting pocketed by the Mercy. She then opted to take a really aggressive angle, grapple hook right on top of you. Yeah, I guess still I'm also kind of not really seeing I'm trying to see kind of where your discords are going. Because you got discorded here. Where is your discord? I'm not really seeing it up right now. Okay, so you put it on Widow. At this point, then you should have said, hey, Widow, top left, top left, top left. See, the Lucio's trying to go for her. But, yeah, this is just a lost team fight. See, and then your Reaper's coming back from spawn. Does manage to get the 1v1 on their Reaper, but he gets sniped, and that's what you get for trickling. Okay, so right then and there, this is when you might want to have, if you have your ping button, ping. And if you don't have it, make sure to bind it and start using it. And, yeah, I mean, that was, you charged your shot, like, right out in the open, instead of charging it in cover, then moving out of cover to fire. And yeah, you can say, sure, like, D.Va, why aren't you DMing? Her defense matrix is up, but you can see it's a little low. At the end of the day, we only have control over our positioning and our decisions. So when there's a Widow that's hitting your shots, make sure to utilize cover. Because these are the kind of shots that Widows, when they practice, these are the easy ones that they can hit. So... Dang, she has sights again. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, May. See, I mean, you can opt to kind of sit in here because you have the safety of spawn, but I would still get in the habit of charging your shots in cover and then peeking just to fire. Also, I like to Jiggle-Peak to kind of like fake the Widow. Maybe let her take a shot first, and then you let loose while she has to charge her next one. Oh, careful! Yep, she's peeking again.
Check your head. 60 seconds remaining.
So now your D.Va, now that she's lost like half her team, is now trying to contest high ground. Oh, but she's so far. She's so deep. See, and while I understand maybe kind of pushing forward because you know your D.Va is now pushing forward, I think your Lucio is just coming back from spawn, and your Reaper just died, so it's now literally a 3v5. You're probably about to lose your D.Va. So your Mei puts up the wall to protect you here. Again, this is kind of one of those things where you just want to calm, hey, we need to stop trickling, let's wait for regroup, and then try to go after that Widow together. Because right now... See, so now this is just kind of using an ult, a defensive ultimate, to just get out of spawn, right? I think it might have been better to wait for the full regroup and then have your ults ready to respond to whatever they throw at you. But this is... I mean, for a heads-up play, you do use the trance to save yourself, and you can aggressively push in. You get the pick onto the enemy Zarya, and you're throwing bomb. Okay, but I just heard a shot from behind you. Checking the kill feed, it looks like that Widow's still alive. With the Mercy. So, you now have a 5v2. You basically picked everyone except the Widow Mercy. Now, I know it can be very appealing to say, hey, we need to get cart progress, we need to focus the objective, but I think this would have been a smarter call to basically say, all of us need to focus this Widow Mercy, because she is now, like, she is set up, not paying rent-free, set up on this high ground with, like, the most absurd angle on the rest of your team, just sniped your other support. And you see, your D.Va is trying to contest her. See, okay, and yeah, okay. And so, Oof. Again, if we're standing out in the open and not opting for cover, Widows are going to hit those. So. And the D.Va just leaves her there? Oh, man. Oh, don't jump. Don't jump. Yeah, jumping against a Widow is a no-no. Don't do that. Because basically, jumping puts you in a very predictable arc that makes it easier to hit your head. So if you ever look at those Widow montages of people popping off, notice how so many of those shots that they're hitting, people are usually jumping. Just because it's easier to hit. Take advantage of the fact that Zen has no footsteps. So if you do see a Widow, try and look for a route to flank her so you can sneak up on her and get those easy like right clicks on her head. But she keeps peeking the same angle, and if you keep peeking the same angle with her, eventually she's going to hit that shot if you don't. So yeah, I don't know if you were calming here. I'm hoping, I'm guessing not, but if you were, I feel like that's also kind of on your team if they're not listening to your calls or noticing that there's a Widow behind. A Widow that's hitting her shots like this can be really threatening, and so I think it was a really big mistake for your team to opt for pushing the cart instead of going after her, because look at now the rest of your team is cut off from you. Like, sure, they're pushing the cart, but like, what? Like, you have a Mei that's almost dead, you have a D.Va that's literally about to be demeched. You can't push because you are contesting this Widow who has her sights on you, and then Soldier is coming back from spawn. So okay, so she's finally dead because Soldier managed to get the drop on her. Ooh, good pick on the ulting Reaper. Yeah, I think in this situation, unfortunate that we used the trance back then to kind of push aggressively. It's kind of like, this is kind of all like, it's like a big like continuum of events, right? Like a vicious cycle of like, oh man, because we're not grouping up and we're continually trickling in, we need to use our ults and utility to kind of even just get a chance at pushing forward, right? And so it's kind of like a big like cycle of unfortunate events. But yeah, you hate to use your ults to push out a spawn, because when that happens, you don't have them for like the grav, you know, the big things, the other ultimates that you can use to counter. But I mean, despite all these challenges, you guys pushed it almost to the end. So it was 3.18 meters away from full capping. So not like an unsuccessful push by any means, but I think there are lots of issues to kind of clear up. And I know it can be easy to focus on what our teammates are doing or not doing, but at the end of the day, you can only focus on yourself, what you're doing, where you're positioned, and how you're using your utility, right? I think it's good that you're opting back for the Ana. I think that there's more opportunity to get stuff done against what they're running with Ana. Because aside from the trance that allowed you to get aggressive, I didn't really see much value coming from the Zen thus far in that last round. A Zen can be a good counter to Widow, but that's more of just like work on playing from cover and practice your mechanics to be able to land those right clicks from cover and peek. So, all right, so let's see how we do on defense. So we're opting for the Orisa, not the D.Va. I think overall this is a pretty good position. Your Sim is playing interestingly on the low ground. Okay, you go for the sleep on the Doom. That's not bad. I would say that was a little, I think, reactive on the sleep. See, like, as soon as you saw him, you just threw the sleep out, right? A lot of times, wait for the Doom to use his power block. It looks like he already did because you can see his glove is powered, but a lot of times it might be best to try and wait for him to use his power block because that's an easy sleep. He does get picked anyway, so that's good. I see what the line of thinking was here, throwing the nade to try and purple the Genji, and the Doom if he didn't die yet. But, again, you kind of want to be careful because, like, in the last 2 seconds, you literally just kind of threw out both your cooldowns. And remember, like, that Genji was there facing down the Orisa, but, like, if he goes after you, now you don't have a nade or your sleep dart. So... Okay, so I'm a little confused as to this nade usage here. Oh, dang, unfortunate. Genji found a pick onto the Sim. Oh, yeah, Sim was very aggressive. Look where she is. That's not on you. She should not have gotten that aggressive. Okay, now this is really aggressive. Oh, okay, so that was a good sleep on the Genji. Good heads-up play. But I don't see a ping. You slept him, but then you turn and left. Like, if you actually look at his health bar, Mercy's not even with him. If you slept him, I actually think if you stayed, you got the... did you have nade with you? It was, oh yeah, it was on 1 second cooldown when you slept him. So, like... Yeah, so he gets bubble. That's a bad bubble by the Zarya. It doesn't really get any value. So you sleep him. Yeah, if you stayed... and did the combo on him where you do, like, the shoot, nade, shoot, melee, I think you could have gotten a pick on this Genji. Or, at least, if you didn't feel confident in landing that, you could use your ping to tell your team, hey, there's a Genji sleeping here. He's half. And your Torb could have walked over here and just, like, right-clicked him in the face and gotten the pick. Either way, like, that was a good sleep, but you didn't even give yourself the opportunity to follow up on that with ping, or communication, or even just kind of taking matters into your own hands and killing him yourself. Like, he was low. He was low enough that if you anti-naded him and did the combo on him, I think you could have killed him. But instead, we opt to use the nade on the Orisa, who wasn't really that low. And so now the Genji's awake, he's healed up, and now he's being damage boosted. So... okay, and I think you're... so now you drop here... okay, use the nade to heal yourself and the Torb up. But yeah, this is a little unfortunate rotation-wise, because now your Lucio and Orisa were kind of stuck over there, and then your Sim is dead, coming back from spawn, but then now you and your Torb are split up because of this Genji, who I would argue maybe there was a better chance to even completely knock him out of the playing field with a pick with that sleep. You go try for the sleep again. I think the best way to try and aim sleeps is timing it after Genji double jumps and kind of aim at his feet as he's falling. I know that's a lot to keep track of. I would have tried to sleep him right there. But you kind of do it as he double jumps, and that's kind of what gives Genji that advantage of movement, is that the double jump can make it tricky. So I like to try and time my sleep to at least try and sleep him after he's already done all that. It was a good attempt on the sleep nonetheless. Like, that was the right thing to do, because in the heat of the moment, that's all you can do, because you've already used your nade. Okay, good peel by your Lucio right here. He's trying to boop him away from you. Yeah, and I see you're looking down, probably trying to nade yourself, but it was still on cooldown. This was just unfortunate. But again, I would say, like, if you do get the sleep on someone, unless you know that you can't confirm the kill and it's going to be more dangerous to try and confirm the kill, I would say at least try to communicate it or go for it every time. I think there was a chance to get a pick on that Genji, which would have, if the Mercy got it, maybe burned Rez, or, you know, you could have taken more space. But because of that fear that the Genji generates, the presence, you had to drop down, or you felt like you needed to drop down, which then led you to be split off, not have the best sightline from your Lucio Orisa, and it kind of snowballed out of control at that point because you and the Torb weren't able to deal with the Genji, who was also getting pocketed by the Mercy, so he's doing a ton of damage. So but I think that's A.
I won't give in.
They're just cleaning up the fight. Ooh. Yeah, and so okay. I think is your Reaper even back from spawn? Oh my gosh, your Reaper and Torb aren't even back, and you guys are opting to take a fight? Oh no. Yeah, man, this is I would have opted to wait for the rest of your team, because like if you guys waited, like, I don't know, honestly, in spawn or not, but now it's a 3v, well, I guess this is a 3v2 or 3. Yeah, Risa and Lucio kind of, maybe they were a duo. They seem to be on the same page a lot together. But you're kind of left in the back. As soon as you were getting damaged here, it might have been best to make the call, like, hey, there's a Genji up top. Or you're getting dove by the Genji, you need help. Yeah. So he gets the easy, like, shurikens on you, because, again, this is also something, I would say, as Ana, you want to practice your quick scopes, and because quick scoping gives you the mobility, but doesn't lock you down. Like, it gives you the hit scan shots, but doesn't, like, affect your mobility, and also when you're standing still and moving slow, it's very easy to hit you, and you got, like, a ton of damage for free using the shuriken dash. Also, you're standing out pretty open here. You're just, like, in the middle of, like, nowhere. You don't have cover. Either on this side, but I would opt for this side. So, yeah, this gave Genji, like, an easy target on you to dive. But then he pulls the blade. You use the nade. Wow. He jumps, and I don't know if it was on accident or not, but, like, he avoids the splash damage of the nade. Actually, you know, a tip here would be, if the Genji is above you like that, instead of looking down to splash the nade, maybe splash it against the wall. So you, like, if you were to splash it here, you'd still get the healing, but because he's up here in the air, maybe there's a better chance that he actually gets splashed, damaged, and purpled. So that maybe gives you a better opportunity. Instead of looking at the ground. I know it can be like force of habit and muscle memory to just always look down and nade, but use the geometry to your advantage. Like, that splash is very powerful, and so maybe splashing out on the wall could have given a better chance to anti the Genji. Alright, so for the Ana, so now that we've died to this flanking Genji twice now, we should then kind of internalize, alright, he's going for me. Hey, Hazy, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the stream, I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the content being made here. Really appreciate it. So we've now died to the Genji twice. So we might want to we then kind of want to internalize that and say, hey, we need to be more aware of where he is, keeping track of his position, what he's taking, where he could be coming from. He really likes the high ground. Mercy is perma-pocketing him. Mercy's low, by the way. She could be an easy target. I think the D.Va's going for her. But anyway, notice how you kind of walk out of spawn after that team fight, and you're just now in the middle of this cul-de-sac. Like, you're not in cover. You have nowhere to go. This is just free reign, easy pickings for this Genji. I would say, notice how your Mei is here. She has a slow. She can do a lot of free damage on the Genji. It might be best to stick with her. You know, strength in numbers. That's the point of a team-based game. He reflects your sleep. I like to also, quick tidbit, if you're up against a Genji, I like to do the melee, because that extends your arm, and that can fake a lot of Genjis out into thinking you're going to sleep, so then he'll deflect, and then once that's baited out, then you go for the sleep after using your melee animation. I'm kind of unsure as to why you nano the D.Va here. Was it maybe a panic nano because you thought you were going to die? There's not really a team fight happening here. It's more just your team is peeling for you and trying to deal with this Mercy Genji dive. I don't think we needed to nano here. But we do manage to kill the Mercy, and we get the kill onto the Genji. So really good that your team peeled for you there. So now, finally, we can... So now that we've eliminated 2 of the 5 people on their team, that's the go button. Your Lucio can speed everyone in. They're on a just use sleep. Everyone else can start to get aggressive here. Again, utility usage. Your Mei has Ice Block, and the Lucio is healing her. She doesn't... you don't need to nade here. Again, and even if she didn't have Ice Block, I'm confident that your aim and shots can heal her up. Really excellent positioning here. You're using that corner as cover, but you're also taking an angle that gives you sightline of this entire alley, so you can not only see the enemy team, but also your team. See, I think there, if you were to use your nade and send one down, like, this would be a perfect nade. Like, a massive. It would force Zarya to either use her bubble to cleanse, but if you were to hit 3 people, like, at most, that's maybe 1 or even both bubbles she has to use, and still someone's purple. Like, that's going to force them back into cover, force them to be a little more timid because they're antied. Maybe you could even make the call, oh, huge purple, speed in, onto their squishies, right? But because we used the nade on the Mei who already, like, used her Ice Block, we now don't have that. And remember, your nade does do burst healing, and it does boost healing on your teammates. It does heal you, but it is an anti-nade. It denies healing for the other team, and that is such a big piece of utility that could swing a fight. So keep that in mind, and try and prioritize looking for ways to maximize healing denial of the enemy team. And so I would say that would have been a really good anti-nade there. Knowing that they have a Genji, and he's gone for you a couple times, I would be a little hesitant to use your sleep dart just down an alley, kind of like way back at the beginning of this, when we slept the Zen from long range. Like, maybe you hit the sleep, but now that's a 15-second cooldown off the table. And most players, especially Genjis who are flankers, they're going to be keeping track of your cooldowns because you are their primary target. So if you don't have that sleep, there's no deterrent or reason for him not to go for you now. See, that's a good anti. You're getting burst healing, peeling for your team, and you also negate the healing onto the Genji. Oh, but can they secure the kill? Okay, they can. Nice. That's a really good nade. Well done. I can understand going for the nade here. I would have said maybe when it comes to the macro, practice again using the reload animation cancel. I would have reloaded because you have 1 more bullet left in the chamber. Reload, canceled the pullback animation with the nade onto the Reaper, but unfortunately the cart got in the way. See, but now you reloaded, you're starting to back up, and your Reaper's still critical down there. So a little bit of hesitation. See, now that your Lucio's back, I would have maybe prioritized healing the Reaper more because he had more of a chance of getting killed by poke there. Or just by random spam. Oh, there's an on-nading coming. While your Lucio topped off the D.Va. But hey, this is really good use of cover here. Ducking in cover, knowing that you're antied, using the natural cover, not standing in the open. Well done. Good positioning. Again, maybe sleep dart usage. Maybe needs a little bit of work just because we know that there's flankers. We know that they're about to have Nano Blade by this time in the fight. Good seeing that your team is pretty healthy. It's good to know like when you can opt for taking damage and poking as Ana. Like seeing that your team was pretty healthy, they're not really in any immediate danger of getting picked. It was good to opt for some damage there because it may be best case scenario you do get a pick or force people to use utility. So, all right, so they're Ana just use sleep. I'm guessing that you meant to nano someone else and then the Lucio got in the way. Classic Boostio. Oh, good nade there to get the pick onto the Genji. See, you saw that they just used bubble on him, which means that he's not going to get another bubble. Good heads up to boost the healing of your team as they go in and start the fight. Yeah.
Tango down.
Good team fight win here. Clean. The only thing that might have been different is maybe you were looking to either nano your Reaper, who was going in with ults, or the D.Va to get aggressive or sustain. But either way, it's fine. You know, that happens. At the end of the day, your ultimate is just a really long cooldown that you're going to get back. So, you know, nothing really wasted here. Okay, May's spamming the voice lines. Yo, Susanna with another Gravy? Heck yeah. Okay, this is where... I mean, this is not really in your control, but I think this is an example of, like, I think your Lucio beated... Like, your Lucio beated maybe thinking that the D.Va didn't eat the Grav. And, I mean, everyone was antied. But... to use both Beat and Blizzard when you know they still have Nano Blade, that might be an overinvestment. Good Anti-Nade to help finish off the kill on the main tank. But yeah. Oh, good. See, you were saving your sleep. It was a good try on the Rezzing Mercy. That's what you want to save your sleep for, to shut down key utility and ultimates and stuff. Unfortunately, they did get the res, but Mercy trades her life for it. I'm a little confused as to what this nade is for. Again, this is like your team isn't really that low, I would say. Focus on hitting your shots more than just throwing the nade out there. So it looks like you hear the Junkrat, and you're aware that he's back here. This would be a good time to communicate, hey, there's a Junkrat in the back, hey, Junkrat on cart. It looked like your Reaper tried to go for him, but because Junkrat is Junkrat, he can win most duels in an enclosed space just by pressing a couple of buttons. All right. I think it looked like you were trying to run away, but then you hesitated and you're like, wait, I have a sleep dart in my stuff. I can turn back. But, yeah, a little bit of hesitation there. If you were able to nade him or sleep him, but dang, he's getting hard pocketed by the Mercy. Unfortunate. A little bit of hesitation there. I mean, I do get that it's hard to hit the sleep dart, but I think that was kind of like do or die in that situation. I don't think you're going to be getting away from a blading Genji just by running. But, oh well. Okay, so we're coming back into the fight from spawn. Again, I'm a little confused as the nade usage here. It looks like we missed a couple shots, and then we're like, oh no, I need to heal my team. Throw the nade out. Unfortunate, you were pocketing your Reaper, but then he just pushed a little bit out of LOS. Nothing really we can do about that. Okay. See, so now the Genji's looking at you. So you went for the sleep. He had Deflect. Now you have your nade. See, so something that I like, you're kind of backing up when this happens, right? Your team is over here. Your Mei is over here. I think it is natural to kind of try and back up, like, because you have to just kind of hold S. You don't want to be near whoever's attacking you. If you are getting dove instead of backing up, unless there's a health pack nearby, which you'd have to make your way over here to get to the Mega, which is a long ways away, I would have said, as you were using your utility, using your nade, using your sleep, I would have tried making your way back over to your team rather than backing up. Because this is just putting you further and further out of position away from the rest of your team that's alive. Like, maybe your team comes back from spawn in time to help you, but I would say it's better to try and always, when in doubt, try and be closer to your team. Yeah, making your way downtown. Walking fast. See, so now you're isolated by yourself. That's just free real estate for Genji. And he didn't even have the Mercy Pocket this time. So you came out of spawn, and then you're back in spawn. And now, because they have no healers, that's the lost team fight. Okay, and so we're opting for the Zen switch here. I guess I am kind of confused still as to what we're hoping the Zen is going to offer us in this situation more than the Ana. I can understand if you're getting dove by the Genji that you want to switch off Ana, but in many ways, Zen is more diveable and more vulnerable. And so if you're worried about like not being able to heal your team because of a lack of uptime because you're always dead, maybe Moira's the move here. Like, as much as I say, like, Moira doesn't have a lot of utility, at least her survivability is better. You have Fade, you have Orb. You don't have to necessarily have, like, intense mechanics to kill the Genji on Moira. So, as long as you avoid getting your damage orb reflected or your healing orb reflected, it's easier to play Moira into Genji. So I would have maybe said maybe that's a better option here. And Moira can synergize better with Lucio than Zen. Yeah, exactly, Hazy. Moira is just more survivable, and so it's just, it's just better to maybe if you're worried about getting dove, maybe Moira is the switch, or Brig, but Brig is not the most meta right now, and you have to make sure to hit your whip shots. Unfortunate. Tire. Okay. Dang. Yeah, see, again, it's like Zen is very diveable, and Genji has been targeting you the whole time, as he should. That's his job. But yeah, unfortunate. Again, like, it can be easy to say, oh, why isn't my team peeling for me? Yes, that's a point, but also, again, you only have control over what you do, and so if it feels like your team isn't helping you, don't switch to something else that requires your team's help. Instead, maybe focus on something that is more survivable and gives you the freedom to move around and duel the Genji better and have a better chance of surviving. So I would say I think the best bet is to use Moira. Because, like, you're running D.Va, but you're not even, like, they're not running a D.Va, so your orbs aren't going to get eaten. Dang, dude. Torm is just tearing it up this game. And again, it's going, like, we're just playing Spawn Simulator 2022 at this point. Like, he's just prioritizing you. Because Genji knows he's not going to be able to get he knows he's not going to get the Lucio. Ooh, okay. Alright, good right click. Discord on the Zen. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so Torm is out of the equation. And there's no more Junkrat Trap shenanigans. You took out the Junkrat Trap. Alright, Disney Ants gets the picks on to Gigs. Okay, okay. We're going. We're making progress here. Following up. Okay. And so we have 30 seconds left in the fight. Ooh, going over for the Mercy. This is good target priority, by the way, going after the Mercy. Nice. Trickling is a death sentence, fam. Oh yeah, of course. Whose VOD is this? This is Toothfish, one of my friends. So they requested that I review their support play, and I wanted to see if they were comfortable with me reviewing it on stream. And so they said yes, and so yeah. Hey, you know what? Well done decision making. Props to Toothfish for, I know it can be very easy to kind of do the knee-jerk reaction of like instantly transing as soon as you see the people get grabbed, but like whenever you have two support ultimates, there's always a danger of stacking them. Oh, it would have been bad if you transed and beated at the same time, but Toothfish doesn't get caught in the grab. They opt to let the Lucio do their thing, take the beat. So now they have Bomb, they have Blizzard, and they have Zen ult for their next fight. Ah, okay. I am a little unsure as to why we trans here. Because I do understand that everyone gets antied, but you still had like 400 something health left, and the trans isn't really going to help anyone with the anti. Maybe it was a panic, or I don't know. I would say though, positioning wise, it might have been better to kind of stay in cover, and because you have a diva that can negate the Pharah, but for some reason she's DMing over here. There's probably just like some bugs on the ground or something that she's like, oh, I gotta protect the bugs from the spam from the Pharah or something. I don't know. It might have been safe to rotate this way. I don't know. I think I can understand doing the Mei on point to drive people off of OT. I can understand the diva ulting to get people off of OT, but I think the trance is so valuable. Like, you know you've gotten out beat, or you know you've gotten Grav out, and you traded beat for Grav, but this Pharah has been doing a lot of damage, and she's going to have Barrage soon if she doesn't die. I think I would have tried to save Zen ult to respond to their Barrage. And again, for target priority, notice how your team is fighting this Reaper in here. He's just about to finish Wraith. It might have been best to put your Discord on him and try to help your Mei and Lucio finish him off. And a trance here would have been able to, I think, get a lot more value if your diva wasn't able to eat it. And it looks like she wasn't able to. Or she did, but she wasn't positioned with everyone else. Mei does get the pick onto the Reaper, which is good. Okay, and now the diva's opting to use her bomb to clear point. Gets the pick onto the Ana. That's awesome. Did we? Uh-oh, your Reaper's low. I would have put the orb on your Reaper. Because I don't think anyone else on your team has the orb right now. Yeah, see, and he got picked by the Pharah with a damage boost. That's and then unfortunately, because we're kind of playing out in the open, we're eating the spam from not only the. I think you took a direct. Yeah, see, so the Reaper was low. We don't give him the orb. We take a direct and then get finished off by the slam.
Repetition is the path to mastery. Reporting for duty.
Ooh, okay. I know that there's the panic to touch the point in overtime because it's like if you don't touch it, then you lose. I don't think Zen should be the first one to touch because I'm pretty sure your Lucio... Your Soldier and your Reaper were behind you. I would have maybe opted to let them touch first. Make sure you put an orb on them so they can get aggressive and touch. But because you ran out here, you were the first one out. The whole team just turned on you, and Zen's a very squishy target. And now there's no one to support the Reaper or Soldier. Well, Soldier has his health pack out, but yeah. And then they touch the point. Overall, it was a close game, but I think that there were a lot of positioning issues and utility usage issues, and a lot of like hesitant decision making. These aren't bad. It's not like a bad thing. Just because people make these mistakes, it doesn't make them a bad player. It just means that there's things to learn and things to improve on. But overall, there were some also good moments and good positioning moments and good usage of the nades to secure kills, deny healing. But I think. Hopefully this is educational for Toothfish. Not only Toothfish, but also other support players. And at the end of the day, I know it can be easy when playing a game. When we die or when we lose, it can be very easy to kind of say, like, oh, why didn't my teammate do this and not? But I think at the end of the day, we only have control over what we can do. And so I think the switch from Ana to Zen were a little questionable. I think if you wanted to go for survivability, I think Moira might have been more ideal, just to avoid the Genji more. Because remember, uptime is also dependent on whether you're alive or not. But overall, my notes would be try and keep track of using your utility better. Using ping. If you don't want to communicate, really take advantage of the ping system. I think, like, if you're not using the ping system, I think that's... Someone, like, tweeted about how it's, like, it's essentially, like, playing, like, blind and deaf with your team. Because, like, if you don't want to calm, that's understandable. Some people aren't comfortable with calming. But using the ping to kind of highlight if you've left someone, or if you just see someone on the flank, or if you say that you need help, that's a really big help for your team. But overall, like, I think this is a good start, a lot to work with. But yeah, hope people enjoyed the VOD review for Feedback Friday. Thanks all who tuned in and gave it a watch, and I hope this helps. And I will catch everyone on the next one.